The archives of the Galactic Historical Society mark Earth's emergence into the interstellar community as the moment that changed everything. Not because of technological breakthroughs or military might, but because humanity shattered 10,000 years of established wisdom about civilizational development. High Archivist Zena Val stood before the Meridian High Council, her tentacles rippling with barely contained urgency as she presented her findings. The crystalline chamber's perfect acoustics carried her words to each of the 12 council members, their bioluminescent forms pulsing with growing concern. Distinguished Council, the primitive species we detected in System 2749 requires immediate attention. Zena projected her data onto the chamber's living walls. They call themselves humans, and they break every rule of evolutionary progression we've documented in 50,000 years of observation. Councillor Thex, his form glowing a deep purple of skepticism, interrupted. Archivist Val, we've seen countless emerging species. What makes these humans worthy of emergency consideration? Zena's tentacles wove complex patterns of emphasis as she responded. Because, honored counselor, they achieved in 2 centuries what takes most species 2 millennia. The walls shifted, displaying Earth's technological progression curve against the standard model. Where other species followed a gentle slope of advancement, Earth's line shot nearly vertical. They went from burning hydrocarbons to splitting atoms in less than a century, Zena continued. From primitive heavier-than-air flight to landing on their moon in 66 years. But it's not just the speed, it's the pattern. The display shifted again, showing key moments in human history. Every time they face catastrophe, instead of regressing or stabilizing like normal species, they accelerate. Global wars drove unprecedented technological advancement. Environmental disasters spurred revolutionary adaptations. Even their entertainment drives innovation. They dream up impossible technologies and stories, then figure out how to build them. First speaker Meredith, her bioluminescence pulsing with the deep blue of wisdom, leaned forward. You believe they pose a threat. I believe they pose an opportunity, Zena replied carefully. But only if we approach them correctly. Their response to challenges is unique. She brought up new data, showing human conflict resolution patterns. Most species, when faced with superior force, submit. Humans, they get creative. And angry. Very, very angry. The council chamber filled with ripples of concerned light as the members communicated in rapid pulses. Councillor Thex's skepticism remained evident in his deep purple glow. Surely you're not suggesting we fear primitives who have barely achieved crude spaceflight. Zena's tentacles formed the pattern of respectful disagreement. I'm suggesting we fear what they might achieve if we give them reason to advance faster. Their current technology level isn't the concern. It's their rate of adaptation and their response to threats. She displayed more data, this time showing human military history. They don't just learn from victory. They learn even more from defeat. Every time they encounter a superior force, they study, adapt, and come back stronger. They don't accept limitations. They treat them as temporary inconveniences to be overcome. The chamber's walls rippled with the council's growing unease. First speaker Meredith's glow shifted to the green of decision. What do you recommend, Archivist? Standard contact protocols would be catastrophic, Zena stated firmly. They assume a rational response to demonstrated superiority. Humans are rational, but not in ways we understand. They're capable of acknowledging our technological superiority, while simultaneously refusing to accept it as permanent. She brought up her final data set. Predictive models of human response to various contact scenarios. I recommend we establish contact as equals, despite their current technological limitations. Any attempt to establish dominance will be viewed as a challenge, and if there's one thing humans excel at, it's overcoming challenges. Councillor Thex's bioluminescence flared with indignation. Preposterous. We are the Meridian Collective, guardians of galactic peace for 10,000 years. We do not pretend equality with primitives. Zena's tentacles formed the pattern of grim certainty. Then we risk everything we've built. Because humans don't see superior force as a reason to submit. They see it as a puzzle to be solved. And they solve puzzles with terrifying creativity. First speaker Marith's glow pulsed thoughtfully. You speak of creativity repeatedly. Archivist. Explain. Most species specialize. They find what works and perfect it. Humans. They try everything. Their military doctrine includes strategies from their Stone Age alongside their latest innovations. They deliberately study outdated technologies to find overlooked applications. They combine solutions in ways that shouldn't work, but somehow do. The display showed human weapons development. They still train with primitive projectile weapons alongside energy weapons, not out of tradition, but because they found ways to make ancient technology relevant against modern defenses. They don't discard solutions. They stockpile them, combine them, evolve them. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. First speaker Marith's glow shifted through multiple colors before settling on the deep green of decision. The council will consider your recommendations, Archivist Val, but surely you overstate the risk. Even with their remarkable adaptation rate, they are centuries behind us. Zena's tentacles formed the pattern of desperate emphasis. With respect, first speaker, that gap closes every time they face a new challenge. And if we become that challenge, her tentacles rippled with concern. We risked teaching them exactly how to defeat us. But she could tell from the council's pulsing patterns that they had already decided. 10,000 years of unquestioned superiority had left the Meridian Collective unable to imagine genuine threat from primitives, no matter how unusual their development pattern. As she left the chamber, Zena felt the weight of history pressing down on her. She had studied thousands of species, but humans were different. They didn't just advance, they accelerated. They didn't just adapt, they evolved. And most worryingly, they seemed to enjoy the process. The council would proceed with standard contact protocols, believing their overwhelming technological superiority would ensure compliance. They would demonstrate their power, expect submission, and establish themselves as humanity's benevolent superiors. And in doing so, they would teach humanity exactly what they needed to overcome. In her private archives, Zena began preparing a new report. Its title was simple: The Last Mistake of the Meridian Collective. A preliminary analysis of human response to technological superiority. She hoped she was wrong. But everything she had learned about humans suggested that the council was about to discover exactly why assuming superiority over humanity was a civilization-ending mistake. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her holographic presentation showing the aftermath of humanity's first contact with the Meridian Collective. The massive Meridian ships still hung in high orbit, their organic crystalline forms refracting sunlight in ways that made them appear both beautiful and terrifying. They're not just technologically superior, she explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. They're confident about it. 10,000 years of unopposed dominance has convinced them that their way is the only way. The chamber was silent as the combined military and scientific leadership of Earth processed the implications. The Meridian's demonstration of peace had disabled every major military installation on the planet simultaneously, without causing a single casualty. The display of surgical precision meant to show the futility of resistance. "So what do we have that they don't?" asked General Marcus Santos, his weathered face reflecting the harsh lighting of the emergency bunker. "Besides audacity and a complete disregard for overwhelming odds." Sarah smiled. "We have chaos, General. Beautiful, unpredictable chaos." She brought up new data, showing analysis of Meridian ship movements. "Look at how they operate. Perfect formation, perfect precision, perfect predictability. They've optimized their technology and tactics over millennia." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of the newly formed Xenotechnology Division, leaned forward. "And optimization can be a weakness. They've eliminated alternatives because they found the perfect solution. But in doing so, they've lost adaptability." Sarah finished. "Exactly. Their technology is incredible, but it's developed through endless refinement of existing solutions. They don't innovate, they perfect. The holographic display shifted to show the Meridian ship's energy signatures. Their shields operate on crystalline resonance patterns, beautiful mathematics, flawless execution, but they've never faced an enemy that would think to use something as primitive as acoustic disruption against advanced energy shields. General Santo's eyes lit up with understanding, because who would be crazy enough to fight space-age technology with sound waves? Humans would. Dr. Tanaka grinned. We've already started modifying old sonic weapons platforms. The Meridian's crystalline technology is vulnerable to harmonic disruption. They never bothered to shield against it because it's been millennia since anyone used sound as a weapon. Sarah brought up more data. That's just the beginning. Their entire tactical doctrine is based on perfect information and predictable responses. They expect us to either submit or attempt to match their technology level. They're not prepared for an enemy that would deliberately use inferior technology in innovative ways. The display showed new schematics, ancient ballistic weapons modified with modern materials, electronic warfare systems combined with primitive radio noise, optical camouflage, enhanced with old-school smoke screens. The Meridians had built perfect defenses against known threats, never imagining an enemy would step backwards technologically to find new advantages. We're not going to beat them with superior technology, Sarah continued. We're going to beat them with superior creativity. Every perfect system has gaps, assumptions so basic they're never questioned. We're going to find those gaps and drive a truck through them. Preferably an old diesel truck loaded with technology they haven't had to defend against in thousands of years. The council chamber filled with the kind of energy that had defined humanity's greatest moments, the excitement of facing impossible odds with impossible solutions. Plans were already forming, traditional military doctrine being rewritten on the fly as humanity prepared to teach the Meridians why assuming technological superiority guaranteed victory was a dangerous mistake. In orbit, the Meridian command ship registered unusual energy signatures from the planet below. Minor anomalies, dismissed as primitive attempts at defense. They didn't recognize the patterns for what they were. Humanity's first steps in turning the Meridian's perfect order against them. Fleet Commander Vex's bioluminescence pulsed with amusement as he reviewed the data. The humans were attempting to resist using crude sonic weaponry and primitive electronic warfare. His tactical officers assured him such backwards technology posed no threat to their advanced systems. None of them recognized that humanity wasn't trying to match Meridian technology. They were systematically probing for weaknesses, testing responses, gathering data on how perfect systems responded to imperfect attacks. Each failed attempt taught them more about Meridian capabilities and limitations. In her archive chamber, Zenaval received the preliminary reports with growing concern. The humans weren't behaving like any species they'd encountered before. Instead of attempting to surrender or match Meridian technology, they were conducting what appeared to be deliberately inefficient attacks using outdated technology. Her tentacles formed patterns of dawning horror as she recognized what the humans were doing. They weren't trying to win. They were learning. Each engagement, no matter how one-sided, provided data on Meridian responses. They were reverse engineering 10,000 years of technological development through careful observation and creative experimentation. They're not fighting us, she recorded in her emergency report to the council. They're studying us, and they're learning far too quickly. But the council, watching the humans employ what appeared to be primitive and ineffective tactics, saw only confirmation of their superiority. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their ability to turn any situation, even apparent defeat, into an opportunity for advancement. The Meridians had perfected their technology over millennia. Humanity was about to show them why perfection could be a weakness, and why assuming technological superiority guaranteed victory was about to become the greatest mistake in Meridian history. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's laboratory in the underground research facility looked more like a museum of warfare than a cutting-edge research center. Ancient weapons sat alongside quantum computers, stone arrowheads shared table space with plasma containment units, and traditional pottery kilns had been modified into experimental energy shield disruptors. The Meridian's greatest weakness, she explained to Admiral Chen as they watched another test firing, is that they don't understand inefficiency can be an advantage. The test chamber held a captured Meridian shield generator, its crystalline structure humming with perfect resonance. The device they aimed at it looked like something from a century ago, a modified sonic cannon that would have been at home in World War II. Fire, Yuki commanded. The cannon activated, producing what appeared to be random noise. The Meridian shield flickered, stabilized, then shattered in a cascade of crystalline fragments. Their shields are perfect, Sarah observed, until they're not. Exactly. They designed their technology to handle precision attacks. Focused energy beams, calculated frequencies, mathematical perfection. They never considered defending against chaos. Yuki gestured to her strange collection of hybrid weapons. We're not trying to overcome their shields with power, we're disrupting them with unpredictability. Across the planet, similar breakthroughs were happening as humanity's scattered research teams took different approaches to the same problem. In Mumbai, engineers discovered that ancient Sanskrit vibration patterns could disrupt Meridian communication networks. In Lagos, a team combined traditional African drum rhythms with electromagnetic pulses to create interference that Meridian sensors couldn't filter. The Meridians watched these developments with growing confusion. Fleet Commander Vex's bioluminescence pulsed with distress as he reviewed the latest reports. They're becoming more aggressive, but their tactics make no sense. They're combining technologies that should be incompatible. His tactical officer's crystalline form rippled with uncertainty. Sir, we're detecting increasing anomalies in our shield harmonics. The humans, they're not attacking where we're strongest. They're finding resonance patterns we never thought to defend against. In her archive chamber, Zenaval received data that confirmed her worst fears. The humans weren't just adapting. They were evolving their tactics in ways that defied conventional analysis. They treated Meridian technology not as an insurmountable barrier, but as a puzzle to be solved through creative experimentation. They're not trying to match our technology, she recorded in her latest report. They're finding ways to make primitive technology more effective against advanced systems than it has any right to be. The turning point came during what the Meridians thought would be a simple demonstration of force. A fleet of crystal ships moved to disable a human military installation in what had become a routine operation. But this time, the humans were ready. The attack began normally. Perfect formation, precise targeting, flawless execution. Then the humans activated their defenses. Not energy shields or advanced weapons, but a combination of technologies spanning human history. Acoustic disruptors based on ancient temple designs created interference patterns in the crystalline ship's structures. Modified radio equipment broadcast what seemed like nonsense, but matched precise harmonic frequencies that disrupted Meridian targeting systems. Most surprisingly, they used actual human voices, thousands of them, singing in patterns that created wave interference in Meridian shield frequencies. The Meridians had never conceived of using something as primitive as vocal harmonics as a weapon, which meant they had never developed defenses against it. The result was chaos. Beautiful, calculated chaos. Meridian ships, designed to operate in perfect concert, found their systems responding to frequencies they were never meant to process. Shields failed not from overpower, but from disruption. Communication networks, designed to filter out interference, were overwhelmed by patterns they couldn't categorize. Impossible, Fleet Commander Vex declared as he watched his perfect formation dissolve into confusion. They're using sound as a weapon. Actual sound waves. In space, his tactical officer's response carried the weight of dawning realization. No, sir. They're using our own perfection against us. The sound is just a carrier for harmonic disruption of our crystalline structures. In her archive chamber, Zena watched the battle data with a mixture of horror and admiration. The humans hadn't just found a weakness in Meridian technology. They had turned the very basis of that technology into a vulnerability. The crystalline perfection that made Meridian ships so powerful also made them vulnerable to disruption in ways their creators had never imagined. But the true genius wasn't in any single breakthrough. It was in humanity's willingness to try everything, to combine technologies that shouldn't work together, to find strength in imperfection rather than trying to achieve Meridian-level perfection. The Meridian Council received the battle reports with growing alarm. Their perfect formations were being disrupted by tactics their combat computers couldn't predict because they defied conventional logic. The humans weren't trying to win through superior technology. They were winning by changing the rules of engagement itself. As the battle turned, Dr. Tanaka stood in her laboratory, watching the data stream in. "We're not just fighting their technology," she told Admiral Chen. "We're fighting 10,000 years of assumptions about how warfare should work. And we're winning because we never learned those assumptions in the first place." The Meridians were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their tactics. It was in their ability to find inspiration in everything, to combine the old with the new, and to turn their own limitations into unexpected advantages. The age of perfect warfare was about to end, replaced by something far more dangerous: human creativity unleashed. The Meridian High Council chamber, once a testament to crystalline perfection, now rippled with waves of distressed bioluminescence. First, Speaker Merith's form pulsed with colors that hadn't been seen in the chamber for thousands of years, the deep reds and violets of genuine fear. "They're not just resisting," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of revelation. "They're evolving faster than we can adapt. Every tactic we use teaches them something new, and they're learning lessons we never intended to teach." The tactical display showed the latest disaster: a Meridian battle fleet sent to subdue a human resistance pocket in what they called the Pacific region, had encountered something unprecedented. The humans had transformed their primitive ocean-going vessels into hybrid weapons platforms, combining ancient naval tactics with salvaged Meridian technology. Fleet Commander Vex, his once proud crystalline form now showing stress fractures, reported from the field. "They're using our own captured technology in ways we never conceived. They've taken our perfect systems and deliberately introduced imperfections, not out of ignorance, but because the imperfections make the systems more effective." In her laboratory, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked with a team of engineers around a captured Meridian crystal core. They weren't trying to understand how it worked perfectly. They were experimenting with ways to make it work imperfectly. "The Meridians built these to resonate in perfect harmony," she explained to Admiral Chen. "But we've discovered they're actually more powerful when we introduce controlled discord." The Admiral watched as they activated the modified core. Where Meridian technology sought perfect crystalline resonance, the humans had introduced carefully calculated imperfections. The result was a system that could adapt and change in ways the original designers had never imagined possible. "We're not just using their technology," Sarah observed. "We're teaching it how to evolve." Across Earth, similar transformations were taking place. Human military forces had stopped trying to match Meridian tactics and instead focused on disrupting them. Traditional guerrilla warfare techniques were combined with advanced technology. Ancient wisdom about warfare merged with cutting-edge innovation. The Meridians found themselves facing an enemy that treated combat not as a contest of technological superiority, but as an exercise in creative problem-solving. Every perfect formation was met with deliberate chaos. Every precise strike was countered with unpredictable responses. In her archive chamber, Zena Val recorded what she now recognized as a turning point in galactic history. "The humans haven't just adapted to our technology. They've fundamentally changed how it works. They've taught our perfect systems how to be imperfect, and in doing so, made them more effective than we ever imagined possible." The transformation became clear during what would later be known as the Battle of the South China Sea. A Meridian fleet, attempting to establish a beachhead for a major offensive, encountered what appeared to be primitive human naval vessels. But as they moved into attack formation, something impossible happened. The human ships, seemingly primitive on the surface, activated hybrid systems that defied Meridian combat logic. They combined traditional naval warfare with modified Meridian technology in ways that shouldn't have worked, but did. Ancient radar systems, modified with crystalline technology, created detection patterns that Meridian stealth systems couldn't handle. Traditional depth charges, enhanced with salvaged Meridian energy cores, generated disruption fields that shattered perfect shield harmonics. But the true innovation wasn't in the weapons. It was in the approach. Human commanders treated combat not as an exercise in perfection, but as a constantly evolving challenge. They didn't try to achieve perfect execution. They deliberately introduced controlled chaos into their strategies. They're not fighting the way anyone has fought for 10,000 years. Fleet Commander Vex reported, his crystalline form showing increasing signs of stress. They treat warfare not as a science to be perfected, but as an art to be mastered. And they're teaching us lessons we never wanted to learn. In the High Council chamber, the tactical displays told a story that no Meridian had ever expected to see. Their perfect formations were being disrupted not by superior technology, but by innovative applications of inferior technology. Their flawless combat algorithms were being defeated not by better algorithms, but by human unpredictability. We didn't just underestimate their ability to adapt. First Speaker Merith admitted to the Council. We underestimated their ability to transform everything they touch. They're not just learning from us. They're teaching our own technology how to evolve. The final realization came when the Meridians discovered that some of their own ships, captured and modified by humans, were now performing better than their original specifications. The humans hadn't just learned to use Meridian technology. They had improved it by deliberately introducing imperfections that allowed for adaptation and evolution. As Dr. Tanaka explained to a group of bewildered Meridian scientists who had come to understand their defeat, perfect systems can only do what they're designed to do. Imperfect systems can evolve. You spent 10,000 years perfecting your technology. We spent 10 months teaching it how to evolve beyond perfection. The age of perfect warfare was ending, replaced by something the Meridians had never imagined possible. A form of combat that treated imperfection not as a weakness to be eliminated, but as an opportunity for evolution. Humanity hadn't just survived first contact. They had transformed it into a lesson that would reshape galactic civilization itself. 5 years after the first contact between humanity and the Meridian Collective, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. The once perfect crystalline architecture now incorporated deliberate imperfections. Not flaws, but carefully calculated variations that allowed the structure to adapt and respond to changing conditions. High Archivist Zenaval stood before the newly formed Combined Council, her tentacles moving in patterns that would have been considered chaotic by old Meridian standards. The chamber now held representatives from both species, their differences highlighted by the contrast between the crystalline forms of the Meridians and the varied appearances of the human delegates. The integration of human perspectives into galactic society has produced results that none of us could have predicted. She began, her words carried by a communication system that combined Meridian precision with human adaptability. We didn't just survive our encounter with humanity. We evolved because of it. The display behind her showed the transformation that had swept through Meridian civilization. Their once perfect ships now incorporated seemingly chaotic elements that allowed them to adapt to changing conditions. Their crystal technology, previously locked in patterns of flawless resonance, now danced with controlled discord that made it more powerful and resilient. Admiral Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's primary military liaison to the Meridian Fleet, stepped forward to continue the presentation. We learned as much from the Meridians as they learned from us, she acknowledged. Their technology, once we stopped trying to make it perfect, showed us possibilities we never imagined. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, leading the newly established Institute of Hybrid Innovation, brought up data showing the results of human-meridian collaboration. The combination of meridian precision and human creativity has accelerated technological development beyond what either of our species could have achieved alone. We didn't just change how we fight, we changed how we innovate. The evidence was everywhere. Meridian ships, once vulnerable to chaos because of their perfect crystalline structure, now incorporated controlled imperfections that made them more adaptable. Human technology, previously limited by its imprecise nature, had been enhanced by meridian principles while maintaining its capacity for evolution. Former Fleet Commander Vex, his crystalline form now showing the asymmetrical patterns that had become common among meridians who worked closely with humans, addressed the council. We thought we had achieved perfection. The humans taught us that perfection is stagnation. True strength lies in the ability to adapt, to evolve, to find power in imperfection. The transformation hadn't been easy. Many among the Meridians had initially resisted the idea of deliberately introducing imperfection into their systems. But the results were undeniable. Ships incorporating human chaos theory outperformed their perfect counterparts. Communication networks that allowed for controlled interference proved more resilient than those based on pure crystalline resonance. The humans didn't defeat us. First Speaker Merith observed, her bioluminescence pulsing with the new patterns that had emerged from human influence. They freed us from the prison of perfection we had built for ourselves. The impact extended far beyond military applications. Meridian architecture, once locked in patterns of crystalline symmetry, now incorporated elements of controlled chaos that allowed structures to adapt to environmental changes. Their social structures, previously rigid and hierarchical, had begun to show flexibility that would have been unthinkable before human contact. But perhaps the most profound change, Zena continued, has been in how we approach the unknown. The display showed the new protocols for contact with emerging civilizations, protocols that emphasized understanding and adaptation rather than assumption and dominance. We no longer see difference as primitive, Dr. Tanaka explained. We see it as potential. Every new perspective, every unusual approach, offers possibilities we might never have considered. The new combined fleet, which had recently made contact with another emerging civilization, demonstrated this changed approach. Instead of demanding compliance with established patterns, they sought to understand how different perspectives might contribute to galactic civilization's evolution. The humans taught us that strength lies not in achieving perfection, but in maintaining the ability to adapt and evolve. First Speaker Merith concluded. In doing so, they didn't just change how we fight, they changed who we are. The legacy of humanity's resistance had become something far more profound than military victory. They had introduced into galactic civilization something it had lost in its pursuit of perfection. The ability to embrace change, to find strength in diversity, to see imperfection not as a flaw, but as an opportunity for growth. As the council session concluded, Zena made one final entry in the Galactic Archives. The true power of humanity was never in their ability to fight. It was in their ability to show us that perfection is the enemy of progress. They taught us that the universe is not a puzzle to be solved, but a mystery to be explored. In learning this lesson, we didn't just find a new ally. We rediscovered parts of ourselves we had forgotten in our pursuit of perfection. The stars look different now to both species, not as points of perfect light to be categorized and controlled, but as endless possibilities waiting to be explored. The age of perfect order had ended, replaced by something far more interesting, an era of endless evolution, where the only constant was change itself. And somewhere out in the galaxy, other civilizations were about to learn why no one challenged Earth twice, not because of humanity's military might, but because of their ability to transform every encounter into an opportunity for mutual growth and evolution.